So here's another question.
Yeah.
This one is from Phil Sutphin. And this is actually kind of a long one. I'll try to blaze through it.
Okay.
What's it like going to a con as an e-celebrity? For example, I remember Chris, the Chris, Oney NG, right here. In this
guy right
room,
here?
This very room.
Picking his nose?
I remember picking his nose.
Yeah.
In a Batman shirt.
Dude.
I remember Chris telling a story in a stream about a surreal moment at a con.
Oh, yeah.
He said that someone in an elevator full of people.
I was there.
Yeah, Zach was there.
And Zach was apparently there, shouted, Oney cartoons! Yay!
No, it wasn't like that.
No.
It was weird. It was weirder than that.
It was way
me and Zach
weirder.
stepped into the elevator. We were
You're at
like
the back of it, though.
we were
You're-
crushed against the back. It was full of like 30 people, like, and the doors closed. And then somebody was just like, when's like Chris O'Neill's panel on? And I was like, wait, what? And then someone was like, Oney cartoons, yeah. And then like two other guys said, Oney cartoons, yeah. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then I stood out of the elevator, and me and Zach looked back into the elevator, and everyone was looking at me, but no one knew who I was. And then the doors closed, and I was like, what the fuck?
He says, yeah, and a bunch of people started saying it as well, but none of them seemed to know that Oney was actually there with them.
It was a really odd experience.
I don't know why it was so weird.
That sounds very bizarre. That sounds like a scene from a movie that is kind of like, the slice of life of YouTube animators or something.
Yeah. It was like that almost.
You're like the mall rats of like animators. You're in an elevator of people like, using your catchphrase, and then you stand in front of all of them and not a single one of them even knows who the fuck you are.
What I think might have happened was I stepped in and some guy might have been like, was that blah blah? Nah, never mind. But then he asked the question,
Right.
But so the question is, what's it like going to a convention?
Yeah.
It's for people like Chris and I, it's not really a big deal. We don't really get.
I preferred it like a few years ago when it was fresh.
And also, we were a little bit smaller back then, so it was a little less overwhelming.
Yeah. When you see the actual internet celebrities dealing with people, oh my god.
I ever
like the face people.
Yeah, like Jon.
Yeah.
Jon Tron.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to talk about.
Whenever we go to a convention with him, good lord, is he what's really creepy, this is incredibly unsettling to me. It sends fucking shivers on my spine. People dressed up as Jon. The last place I went to. And so I kept thinking, I was like, hey, with Jon, and he was like, we turned out it was just some fat lesbian. I was like, oh god, I'm not Jon.
Oh my god.
Maybe it was Jon.
No, it wasn't Jon. Jon's not a fat lesbian.
But I was gonna go to
not yet. But anyways, I was like, what the fuck? And it happened like 4 times. And it kept irritating me. The more it happened,
there were 4 lesbians dressed as Jon Tron?
There's probably 2 lesbians and 2 just fat guys.
Okay.
There's like a weird, sad truth to it where you want people to come to your panel because like that's why you go is to see people at your panel. But then if someone comes up to you at any time other than your panel, you're like, you should have come to the panel.
Yeah.
But then and if there's people stopping you for a photo every minute, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like in a perfect world where you had all the time in the world and you had nothing to do, it would be great to like take photos and sign autographs, have a 5-minute chat with everybody. It would be great. But I could imagine that once it happens too much, it's just like, oh wow.
I've gotten to the point where if I continue to do what I do, it will get to the point where it's going to be annoying,
Right, but what's funny, though, is from the other perspective, not a lot of these people don't know what that experience is. So for them, every time they meet you, it is the first time. It is like so fresh for them. For you, it's like, dude.
And it's not like you can't relate.
Chris, I think when you say annoying, it's not like annoying that they're approaching you.
No, it's great. No, it's awesome that they're approaching you. Yeah. But it's annoying when they stop you when you're in the middle of something, or if you're eating dinner or something. I think
eating is a
or if they're like, give me a picture, and you're like, dude, I look like shit. I've been walking around for 6 hours.
That's the one aspect. I mean, it's probably sounds weird to an outside perspective because we're just. It's also hard to not sound like a douche when talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no.
We're not celebrities. We're just
real about it.
Some people notice who we are sometimes.
Yeah.
And luckily, not me that much. But I'm paranoid. Yeah, it's like, I remember John. We were in New York, and John got seriously recognized multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And it's like the guy couldn't just go out and get a carton of milk or something, or go get a water until he couldn't walk in his not boxers, but his fucking pajama pants.
Yeah.
He had to look picture quality every time he went out. And it's like, dude,
because people would snap a. If you didn't consent to a photo, they'd take it anyway.
Yeah, he had to put Jock on his fucking shoulder every day, walk around the city. He had to walk to his theme tune. He had to carry boombox. It was fucked up.
Wait, what?
No, it's not true.
Okay, I was like the boombox with like sunglasses on.
Yeah, but I mean, from my perspective, too, I've said it before on the podcast. I've said it before, just other places. I don't like those encounters, not because I don't like the encounters themselves, but I don't like what's behind them. I hate the idea of celebrity, like of celebrities and being a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity, but saying I hate the idea of it. I really, really, really don't like the idea of pictures. I don't like the idea of autographs, because it's me confirming that I'm worth an autograph for a picture.
Yeah, but
that's my perspective.
To people, okay, so there's celebrity culture, and then there's just someone who genuinely like looks up to you as an artist.
I get that, but I guess I have a weird skewed perspective, because if I saw like Larry David or somebody, I would never like be like, hey, I've never asked anybody for a picture ever.
Right.
And that's just me. If I ever met somebody I'd like, I'd be like, oh, I try to treat them like a person. Even if my heart was beating, I was like, oh God, it's this person.
Yeah.
And that's just a human reaction. I would still. But that's just me.
Well, we were hanging out at MagFest together a lot, and a couple of them. And I'm curious, now that you mention it, because I know like your thing with photos. Were you asked to get photos a lot?
A couple people asked me before, and
then what did you say?
I said, I'm sorry, I really don't like doing that. But I can do anything else for you. I can.
Suck your dick.
Like, yeah, I can suck your balls.
We're not original, Mick. Me and you.
But no, I don't like the idea of that, because it then confirms that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm worth an autograph, or I'm worth a fucking picture.
Do you think it's fair for you to make that judgment for them now? Because what you're doing in that moment, though.
What I'm saying is, I'm not trying to deprive anybody of anything. I'm just saying you got the wrong idea. Your image of me is not what you think it is.
You feel guilty, kind of?
But you can't
feel
tell
guilty.
somebody...
If I sat down with lunch with somebody and they'd expect me to be off the walls, I'd be like, yeah, so I was listening to NPR earlier.
Expectation is different than what people feel when they.
I get. Look, my perspective is, if people like my work, that's great. That's what I want. Right. I want people to appreciate my work. But the guy behind it is a boring fucking guy. Don't do the thing.
No, well,
I'm an average guy, and I say that seriously. And I know it's obvious, but people really, really think I'm off the walls. And it's like, no, I'm a fucking boring.
But what if they want your autograph because of the body of work you've done and the joy you've brought to them, and not like you're some crazy
people do it because they idolize.
I understand.
There's like another like aspect to it where I get really like guilty feeling when someone comes up to me and says, I'm a really huge fan of this cartoon that I personally hate it now because do you ever make a cartoon and you grow so far from it you're like, I fucking hate this?
I hated ... about a month after I made it.
Right, so when people come up to you and say...
It was literally what Tom Fulp would introduce me to people as. He was like, this is the ... guy. And I was like, Tom...
So if people come up to you and say, I love ... you're like...
Yeah. That was the first thing John said to me at MagFest.
Yeah.
He was like, oh Mick, yeah, you made ... I love ... So
you just feel bad, kind of. You feel kind of guilty because you've grown out of it and you're like, you can't escape it, you know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like that people go, like, what are you trying to hide? It's like, I'm not trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
I've already been out there. People know my full name. It's like I'm trying to hide anything. I don't like the idea of it. I don't like the idea because I'm not fucking... It's not even that I'm not worthy, but I'm not. But it's like, I think it's pointless. If you want to appreciate anything, if you want to say anything, do it about my work. But I am not a celebrity. I'm not a goofy, off-the-wall guy. What I make is what I want to be out there. I don't want to be the spotlight because I don't deserve to be the spotlight. I understand.
But do you feel like you've I think that there's a distinction, though, between those people who feel like they're celebrity, therefore they propagate that image and they promote it. But I do think, as far as the effort that has gone into avoiding that...
It's not effort. It's the opposite. It's a lack of effort to do the other thing. I've never made an effort not to do that. I've made an effort to not. Basically, what I'm saying is I've never made an effort to not put myself out there. I've just never put an effort to put myself out there. It's a lack of effort.
Okay.
A lot of people will go, I want to be that face. And people walk down the street and they go, oh, it's you.
Right.
I don't want a face to my thing. I want my work. Everything should be different. I'm a guy who practiced something and maybe I'll get better at it someday, but then that's it. I practice at it. That's all it is. I just do stuff. And I'm not purposely being humble. I really, really, really hate the idea of idolizing the people behind the work. I really don't like it.
So it's not about you putting an effort not to put yourself out
right,
there.
I'm not consciously going, ugh.
Right. So like if a camera was on you, it's not like you wouldn't take the effort to walk away from the camera or put like a mask on.
I'm not going to scream all the way. I went to a panel, for God's sake.
That's
it's like
true.
I was like, oh yeah, I feel like doing it. It's one of those.
Well, you went to one of them.
Yeah, but I also didn't go back to my stand-up time at all.
But I was gonna say, so.
I mean, am I in the wrong then? What do you guys think?
I don't think you're right. I do think that you do put
That's
a
my
little bit
perspective.
of effort into...
I don't know, if you put yourself out there, people like you more for doing it for a reason. I don't know.
That's the other reason I don't like it. I've been to so many fucking parties where someone like ignores me, like these snobby Hollywood fucking...
Okay,
that's a good point.
You know what? They ignore you because they don't know you look like that.
Exactly.
Because you keep hiding what you look like.
That's my point.
Barbra Streisand effect.
Zach's saying that you can see the true person if they don't know who you are first.
This is my point. I've been to so many places where I've been to circle of people talking, and they're like, "Yeah, I did this." So I'm just sitting there, like, I say something, and they're like, they look at me, look away, and after like an hour into the conversation, somebody walks over, like, "Oh, this is, he did this and this," and immediately these ass kissers. That's why I don't like it. It makes everyone see. I want people to see me I want to be a regular person who's treated like a real person.
Yep.
I hate the fucking thing of like, oh, you make this, and you get these leeches, these fucking bottom feeders.
Yep.
I hate that.
So here's an interesting
I want people to treat me right because I'm being a fucking human being.
An interesting parallel is when I was 15, I was very overweight. I was very overweight for my entire youth, and then I over a course of a summer I did a lot of unhealthy things. And I lost a stupid amount of weight. I went to the hospital because my immune system basically shut down. And they fed me intravenously through my knuckle for about a week and a half. And I lost a ton of weight. And then when I was in the hospital, I lost even more weight because I was just being fed like NaCl. What is it? Sodium?
Gatorade.
Gatorade. They were just feeding me fucking Gatorade. But then when I got out, because this was an international school, this was in Malaysia, there wasn't a whole lot of people. It was a pretty small circle of people.
Yeah.
But the exact same people that I remember making fun of me while I was drawing in my sketchbook, I had headphones on, but I was switching tracks, like, bouncing through tracks, so there was a dead space in my tracks. I could hear them talking about me, while I was, and these were my quote unquote friends. Like, these were the people, but I mean, it wasn't friendly banter.
Because you were the fat kid, so fuck.
I was like, I was the fat kid of the group, I guess. So they always needed like a thing, I guess. But I didn't know that was the case because I never heard it to my face.
Yeah.
You always kind of felt things. So anyways, but I got back. And after a number of unhealthy choices, I had lost a lot of weight. And, this is when you're 16. So, 16, 15 period where your puberty is really hitting. So you grow and you change.
You got a big dick.
Quickly. I have a big dick, so that helps.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Never mind. Go.
So anyways, what ended up happening was all of them all of a sudden liked me.
Yeah.
I was a sophomore. I dated a senior, and all of a sudden, like within several groups, I was in a heavy metal band. All of a sudden, I was like, I was the lead of a couple of like plays and things that we did. My circle of friends was awesome. I did really like them. In retrospect, they were great people. However, there were so many people that I wanted to be my friend that I realized after I'd lost the weight, they wanted to be my friend. I hated everybody.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust anybody. Then I went to Japan after Malaysia. Hated everybody.
Well,
anyone who liked
Japanese.
me. No, a lot of them were international. And when I went back to Seattle after that, hated everybody. And when I say hate, that's a bad word. I was always suspicious. I could never look at anyone and think, you actually like me, because of the transition and how quickly it happened. I distrusted everyone because I was like, if you saw me 2 years ago, if you saw me 3 years ago, you would be fucking making fun of me right now. Yep. You would not be my friend. Right, I dated girls. That's what I thought. I went out to parties with people. That's what I thought. I was invited to shit. That's what I thought. Yeah. I had this disdain for everybody. That's actually a big reason why I'm like as nice, quote unquote, as I am. At least I try to be positive and everything. Is because I spent a huge chunk of my life, like the most, like as far as like parties and friends and all that, between 15 and 22. That's like kind of like a big like high school to college kind of party time. Yeah. where I just looked at everybody with this second eye or this third eye of just disdain. Because my eyes are so small, they only count as half.
It's a half.
So you have to combine them to create one. So my second eye. But yeah, so when you were saying that about going to a party and hearing what people
that feeling in your stomach, that fucking fire you feel when you're like, I know you're disingenuous and you're a fucking snake. That is, I've experienced it several times where people flat out ignore me at these parties fucking parties.
Yeah.
Where people congregate of like, you know, other quote unquote e-celebrities, maybe even higher up people than that, and you just get them and it's like, oh, what did you do? You get this snobby fucking dead look in the eyes, and you really have to be like, I made this, and they're like, oh, and immediately these fucking worms just, I don't know, it really makes me sick. Yeah. So that's another reason too. It's like, let's see if you really are.
I think it's so much more exciting to like become friends with somebody like over drinks and stuff, and then while you're talking, then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, and I do this thing. You're like, oh, what did you do? And they're like, oh yeah, they drop a name of a project. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys are already hitting it off.
That's
and it's
fine.
like, oh, that's awesome.
Fine.
Yeah.
Look, I've met people who have been like that with.
Most of you guys have been that.
I've met people who've been great, who didn't know who I was and treated me nicely, and then I told them who, you know, we exchanged. Oh, you did this. Yeah, that's cool. That's good, but I'm saying I've experienced so many times. I seriously remember one instance where I was flat out ignored in a group of talking.
I remember that.
Yeah. And they were just like, these snobs, because they were talking about pitching shows.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I did that, so like, I'll pitch in my 2 cents.
Throw your 2 cents in.
Yeah, and I think I had more than 2 cents in the
Yeah.
situation, because what they hadn't pitched yet. So I was like, oh, this is my experience. And they're like, oh yeah. And then one of the people, the host of the party, walked over and was like, oh yeah, this is Zach, he made Hellbenders and this and that. And oh, you made no. And I was like, I never felt more dirty than that time.